Thank you all for attending, and please remove your hats. Welcome to Parsippany Hills High School's 2018 New Jersey Congressional Campaign Town Hall Meeting. You are going to hear from different candidates running for the 11th Congressional District, your district, in next week's important midterm election. You will also have an opportunity to vote in your classes on who you think should be elected into Congress. I will be asking the candidates of each party to answer important questions. They will have 2 minutes to respond to my first question. We will then take questions from the audience for each candidate. I will then ask a second question where candidates will have 1 minute to respond. After the candidates have answered my questions in the allotted time, they will take questions from the audience. We ask that you remain respectful to all of the speakers participating in today's event. The candidates will now introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Ryan Martinez, and I'm representing the Libertarian Party.
Hello, my name is Jay Weber, and I'm representing the Republican Party.
My name is Mikey Sherrill, and I'm from the Democratic Party.
Hi, I'm Robert Crook, and I'll be representing the Independent Party.
Thank you, candidates, and now on to the first question. Our audience today is mostly made of young Americans. Many here today are concerned about their future. Why should young Americans trust you with their future concerns and vote for you? Ryan Martinez, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Good afternoon, students, teachers, and faculty of PHHS. First off, I would like to thank you all for coming, and thank you for your involvement in this year's elections. Now, I'm sure that most of you are probably familiar with the Republican and Democratic parties and how recently, instead of uniting us as a country, they've just been putting people up against each other and tearing this country apart. That is why I believe that being a libertarian and voting for the Libertarian Party is the only choice to make. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is this man talking about libertarian? And what even is a libertarian do? And that is what I'm here to inform you about. Being a libertarian, we value what our founding fathers built this country off of when they wrote the Declaration of Independence along with the Constitution. As well, we see each and every single individual as not only unique, but responsible, and we know that you can make your own decisions. Now, to go into some of the specific issues and topics, we are in favor of lowering taxes, along with making sure that our small business owners and small businesses in general are able to succeed and thrive in not only New Jersey's economy, but the whole United States of America's economy as well. Also, we believe that the government has too much of an involvement in your everyday lives, so if elected, we want to bring the power back to you, the people. We want to make sure that the government doesn't have such a great involvement in your everyday lives and your affairs. So remember, when it comes time to vote, vote me, Ryan Martinez, because a vote for me is not only a vote for you, the people, but as well as a vote for liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
This first question is from Vidi Shah. Please stand up and wait for the mic. Come on, Brandon. He's so slow.
Do you think there should be gun restrictions to deal with instances like mass shootings?
Thank you for your question. I'm sure that no matter what party affiliation you are, we can all agree that mass shootings is a huge problem in today's society. I mean, just recently, a man named Robert Bowers went into a synagogue in Pittsburgh and opened fire, killing 11 innocent people who were just trying to practice their faith, and wounding many others. I don't know about you, but this infuriates me. I believe that in order to fix this problem, we need to boost our security when it comes to our schools, our places of worship, and our just public areas. Now, I have a question. How many of you think that people like Robert Bowers, or people who intend on spreading hate, are going to get a gun no matter what laws or restrictions are in place? I agree. People who intend on spreading violence and hate are going to get a gun or a firearm no matter what restrictions are in place. And so, this being said, in return to the Second Amendment, I do believe that every person has the right to defend themselves. And in doing this, we will be doing mental health checks, and we will be doing background on criminal records, so we know if you are getting a gun that we can trust you and you could help our society stay safe and secure. Thank you.
This next question is from Lauren Geiger.
What are your viewpoints on the legalization of marijuana in New Jersey and the United States as a whole?
Thank you for your question. I believe that we need to legalize marijuana immediately. There are three main reasons why I think this. One, so that the government will be able to regulate it and make sure that what is going out on the streets is safe and cannot be harmful. Two, with the legalization of marijuana, it will be able for the government to make a revenue off of the sale of marijuana. In states like Colorado and Washington, their revenue stream after they were legalizing marijuana is through the charts. And I feel that if New Jersey takes the same route, we could follow their lead. And three, going with the government being able to regulate marijuana, we will be able to open dispensaries and not have people buying this drug off the streets and not knowing if it's laced with anything or harmful. In opening dispensaries, it'll be able for people and the consumers to know what they're buying and how safe it is. And it'll be able for people to use the recreational marijuana in their use. Thank you.
Jay Weber.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh, thank you. That was strong. I'd first like to thank all of you for coming. I believe that the greatest thing that an American citizen can do is vote in a political election. I believe that your vote is a statement. Now the question is, what do you want that statement to say? My name is Jay Weber, and I am running in order to secure the economic future of New Jersey. New Jersey has the highest property tax out of the entire nation. And because of this, we've seen businesses and people leave our state in mass migration. Anytime you ask a college student where they want to go, they say that they can't live in New Jersey, so they are forced to go out of state. I believe that we must lower the property tax in order to encourage business. As we've seen, as President Trump has deregulated business, we've seen the nation as a whole see an increase in the economy. But if you look specifically at New Jersey's economy, our economy has been struggling. And you have to ask the question, why is this happening? Because we see businesses just leaving in mass migration to other states. I believe that if we lower the tax, they'll be encouraged to stay here and support our workers. Now, when you get out of college, I want to make sure that you have a job, that you don't have to be afraid, where am I going to work? Do I have to travel all the way to New York every single day? Can I not find a job in New Jersey? Also, when it comes to the economic future, I believe that we have to do something about college. As we look at tuition rates, they've been increasing and increasing, but what have you been getting? Let me ask you, sir, this is a nice binder, right? The person in front of you in line buys the same binder, $5. But then when you go to the register, they charge you $15. Now, what did you ask? Why is it more? What changed? Is there a quality increase? But what we look at when we see colleges, you look at the person from the year before you, they get the same exact benefits that you do, but yet you pay more. How is that fair? As state assemblyman last year, I looked at Rutgers tuition rates, and I made sure that they froze their tuition rates so that people do not pay for what they do not have to. Why should they raise their price if there's no increase in goods or no extra cost? So I believe that we need to make sure that people of our state can succeed economically. And so please vote for Jay to have a better day. Thank you.
This first question is from Nikita Sharma.
Can you explain the backing behind your endorsement of a treatment as damaging and dated as conversion therapy?
Thank you for your question. Now, although you might look at Mikey Cheryl's $5 million ads and how she says, I want to shock children, this can't be far from the truth. If you look at any candidate up here, I believe that if you do something as damaging as electroshock therapy, you should not be running. We should be able to protect our young people of this generation. So I personally do not think it is right. In regards to what you are referring to, you're probably referring to the law that I shot down. That law specifically was talking about what a psychiatrist could say between them and their patient. I believe that the government should not be able to restrict the conversation that a patient has with their doctor. Now, in regards to electroshock therapy, this law was only referring to psychiatrists, so other people with other job positions with titles that they make up, such as life coaches, religious leaders, counselors. This law did not affect them at all. So if they wanted to, they could endorse electroshock therapy, and I don't believe this is right. Instead, I said that we must put a specific bill in place that referred to specifically electroshock therapy instead of limiting what a psychiatrist could say to their patient. Thank you for your question.
This next question is from Sheetal. Please stand up. Please say it.
Someone told me recently that you have been a state assemblyman for the past 10 years. In what ways have you helped the country during this period, and why have I never heard of you?
Thank you for your question. And I believe it is a fair question. I've been in a political office for 10 years, right? But you want to know what I've done. And I believe that is a fair question. So one thing that I've done is I've stood by women who have been domestically assaulted. And I've said that domestic abusers should never get a weapon. Never. They should not be able to acquire a gun no matter what the means. Although my party, the Republican Party, stood against this, I personally went against my party because I believe that women should be protected. Also, what I've done is I've supported people with disabilities by enacting the New Jersey Disability Bill of Rights, which said that you cannot be discriminated against no matter what disability you have when you are being employed. In addition, as state assemblyman, I included a $1 billion increase in the budget for education to support our school system. Thank you for your question.
Mikey Sherrill.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out and supporting this year's election, you know, the midterm elections, the ones that people tend to forget. My name is Mikey Sherrill, and a little bit about me is that I'm a Navy veteran. If you have a TV, you probably have seen my ads. I'm also a former prosecutor, and more importantly, I'm a mother of 4, meaning I'm very, very concerned for the youth of America today. Now, if elected, I would be representing New Jersey and would like to tackle New Jersey issues, specifically the issue that many of you may have to face when you get older. In fact, many of you may have to be forced to leave New Jersey because of the increasing cost of living it takes to be here. I credit that very heavily to the current administration's tax reforms and the property tax deduction cap. Those terms may sound a little left field for some of you, or maybe not, but in general, who is this hurting? It's more people than you think. It's hurting our middle-class families, possibly your middle-class families, all because of this current administration. So therefore, if elected, I would work very hard towards basically cleaning up the mess that the current administration has made of New Jersey. Now, right now it's taxes, but what's next? They've already cut into education. Up next is Social Security, your health care. This is hurting underrepresented Americans in the middle class, and that's who I'm here to support. I support all Americans, but the middle class needs some help, and that's who I'm here for. Thank you.
This first question is from Dia Patel.
Your campaign is run on the fact that you want to bring new leadership to Congress. So if you are elected, what do you plan to bring? How do you plan to bring that new leadership to the federal government and New Jersey?
Thank you for your question. That's a great question, actually. I am a very big supporter of new leadership in Congress because, frankly, more needs to be done in order for you guys to get what you need in America. So in order to bring new leadership, well, first of all, I've been a leader my whole life. I was in the Navy. I was a helicopter commander. Further, I was a prosecutor, always fighting for people, always leading people in the right direction. So that won't stop when I go to Congress. I will work very hard towards making bipartisan reforms in order for you guys to have a better future in general. I'm not just going to be working towards my party and what I believe. It's truly a bipartisan, and I want to be working with everyone. Thank you.
This next question is from Anna Sostak.
how are you going to help education, and do you have any improvements you want to make in the districts?
Thank you for your question. I do want to make education reforms. Currently, education has been cut by the current administration, and I feel that there should be more funding towards it in general. With that funding, we'd be able to have more STEM programs and civics programs so that you all can be more well-rounded when you go out into the workforce and are able to better implement these tools that we'd be giving you in the schools for the future. In addition, I also would like to address student debt. Student debt has become a huge issue that I'm still facing, that you may be facing, that your parents still may be facing today. In order to tackle that, I would like to allow students to take out the same loans at the same rates as big banks. In addition, I also would like to allow students to refinance their debt once interest rates go down. This way, they'll be able to pay less off in general. And finally, an education reform that I don't think is talked about enough is students who don't plan on going into college. That may be affecting some of you here. I want to be able to support you so that you're able to go off into the workforce directly from high school, and for you to still have a decently paying job so that you may still live here and pay off your taxes and pay off your debt. In order to do that, I support a 2-year vocational schooling, which would help you gain tools and technologies that you may apply into future years once you enter the workforce. Thank you.
Robert Crook.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Crook. I've been a CPA and a forensic accountant for over 30 years, and I am running to be your House of Representative for the 11th District of New Jersey. If you look around at this stadium, you see the giant Mikey Sherrill sign and the giant Jay Weber sign. This debate has become a yelling contest over who can shout their opinion the loudest. It is no longer who can move our nation forward. It's who's right. But as the independent candidate, I believe that our country should not worry about leaning right or left, Republican or Democratic, but leaning forward for the future of our America. We've stopped moving our nation forward because we are so involved with ourselves and our opinions that we have no longer been thinking before we act. How many of you are planning on going to college? Okay. I know we have some seniors here, so I'm sorry for all of the early application dates that are coming up. You guys are spending $200 to $300 on applications and then another however many thousand to actually go to the school. How are you going to pay off all of your student loan debt when finding a stable job is next to impossible in our economy? How are you going to do that? Do you know? No. She doesn't know. You heard it here. She has no clue. You know why that is? Because our high schools are not preparing you to enter the workforce. How many of you, by raise of hands, rely on your Chromebooks or another piece of technology to do a daily task? Good, look around. Now keep those hands up, please. Now, of you all, how many of you plan on going into a job that is based off of technology? That's what I thought. You can look around and see how many people decrease from that. That's because our schools are not focusing on what has become the basis of our economy, which is our technology-based jobs. I believe that by implementing a STEM program into our high school systems, we can truly better represent the youth in the workforce because we can get you all into the workforce sooner. There are thousands of technology jobs, and I believe that if you elect me, Robert Crook, for your House of Representatives, that I can move our nation forward and stop focusing and stop having the nation focus on whether or not their opinion is right, but whether or not it is best for our youth of America. Thank you.
This first question is from Medha Patel. Please stand up.
Hi. So, how will you work to decrease property taxes so that students can live on their own?
Thank you so much for your question. So as I mentioned before, I've been a CPA for over 30 years. Numbers are my life. Yeah, numbers are my life. Math is my life, unfortunately. I'm sure that doesn't sound like it's all that fun, but I'm very passionate about it. Our nation is not auditing the spending that's going into our military, and I believe that if we begin auditing that, the money that we save will trickle down and start lowering that property tax as a result. Thank you for your question.
This next question is from Angel Rodriguez. Oh, okay. That was
loud. How do you plan on bringing more jobs to New Jersey, specifically for the lower class citizens?
Great question. So as I mentioned in my initial answer to the first question, I want to implement a STEM program into our high schools to better prepare you all of the youth of America to enter the technology workforce. Lower class citizens, no matter what, are always going to receive the public education if their parents choose to insert them into that education system. And so I believe that if we implement it into our public school systems, everybody will be given the same amount of knowledge that is needed to enter that workforce. Thank you for your question.
My second and last question to the candidates is, if elected, what problem would you specifically address as a member of Congress next year? Robert Crook, you have 1 minute to answer.
I think our biggest problem in this nation is that recently our nation has hit a record low of $21 trillion. That's a giant hole that we've dug ourselves into and that we need to climb out of. We need to stop worrying about what's going on in other places, what's going on that isn't a dire need for us to fix, and start worrying about getting ourselves out of this debt. I believe that if elected, I will help monitor what budgets Congress passes, and as long as they are in a time of war, recession, or natural disaster, then sure, pass them. But if they're not, and they are increasing our debt, there is no reason to pass that budget. So I believe that the biggest problem is our national debt. I really think that we should focus on getting ourselves out of that before we continue to improve our nation. Thank you.
Mikey Sherrill.
Thank you. I'm a huge advocate for women's rights. Our nation has come so far in human rights, but it'll only go backwards if we continue to elect officials like Jay Weber, who vote against the equal pay of women, who try and dictate what women do with their bodies, and who generally do not support the progression of women today. Therefore, if elected, I would work very hard towards fighting for women's issues, specifically being against the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and wanting to make it easier for women to access birth control and family planning systems. Now, with the topic of Planned Parenthood, it's not all about abortion and the scary topic of birth control and everything. It's women's health we're dealing with here. With Planned Parenthood, women have easier access to breast cancer examinations and looking to prevent STDs and STIs. Just recently, Governor Christie had defunded the Planned Parenthood in New Jersey, and that has been detrimental to our women today. The STDs have gone up by 35%, and for women, they have been getting less and less breast examinations each year. This is simply harmful to our women, and they should be represented equally in Congress, and that's who I'm here to support. Thank you.
Jay Weber.
I believe that the biggest problem facing our nation is the student debt. Now, by raise of hands, who here after high school plans to have some form of higher education? Raise your hands. Oh, come on, I want to see them. Hi, there you go, yeah. Now, let me ask you, keep your hands up. How many of you people have some savings towards college? A lot of your hands went down, and you're not alone. Only about 20% of Americans who want to go to college have anything saved for college. That means that 80% of people going to college have no way to pay for it. And I think this is a problem because in our economy, we need people to be specialized in the field that they go to. So I believe as government, we need to be able to support people going to college. Now you might ask, how do I plan to support them? I believe in a savings plan called a 529 plan. A 529 plan is an investment plan where the government does not take money out of your investment, and because of the interest that is included with the tax plan, it will increase as time goes on. So about the average person who puts money into a 529 plan gets $10,000 at the end of it. $10,000 that goes towards your college education. Think about that, $10,000 less that you have to pay. Now, I know exactly how you guys feel. I have 7 kids. I have to send them all through college. I went to Johns Hopkins University and Harvard Law, and let me tell you, those weren't cheap. But I want to be able to tell you, as I have, I paid off my debt. But at the end of my term, I want to be able to tell you that you shouldn't be afraid to pay off your debt. I want to be able to tell you at the end of my term that you can pay it off. As of right now, I can't honestly look you in the eye and tell you with the policies right now that you can pay your debt off. But at the end of my term, I want to be able to say that you can pay off your debt and you can enter the workforce and put New Jersey back to work. Thank you.
Ryan Martinez.
Well, I could probably relate to some of your teachers and parents, and even my candidates over here, that student loan debt is a huge problem. And I 100% agree. The U.S. is approximately $1.48 trillion in student loan debt. Let me say that again, $1.48 trillion. And me personally, after graduating from Ithaca College in 2003, I came out with over $200,000 in student loan debt. And I'm still paying that off to this day. So if elected, I plan on tackling this problem immediately and head on. I want to meet with these colleges and universities. I want to meet with the administrators and teachers. And most importantly, I want to meet with you, the students. I feel that if we come together as a society, we can all bring ideas to the table to try and tackle this problem known as student loan debt. As well, I believe that we need to get the businesses involved in this problem. Let's say you get out of college and you have a substantial amount of student loan debt. These businesses that you're working for should be able to pay a percentage off of that student loan debt in return for your services. And you may be thinking, well, how are you going to make sure that these businesses do pay off them? And that is why we are going to give these businesses incentives, such as maybe giving them a tax deduction. By doing this, it will allow not only the employees to not only lower their student loan debt, but get a job, but also it will allow the employers and the companies to be able to get incentives like tax deduction. So I feel that if elected, I will not shy down from this problem, and I will do anything I can to try and tackle this problem. Thank you.
The candidates will now introduce their campaign managers.
My campaign manager is Douglas Carter.
My campaign manager is Sid Swaminathan.
My campaign manager is Aileen Carvalho.
My campaign manager is Max Falk.
We will now be taking questions from the audience at this time.
Hello, I apologize for my hair, but I was told to take my hat off. I have a question for Ryan Martinez. So I was listening to most of the points you were saying, and I found myself agreeing with a lot of them, and then I realized why I agreed with a lot of them, and it's because they were mostly conservative ideas. So my question is, why should I vote Libertarian when I could just as easily vote Republican and then actually have partisan backing for my electorate in the Congress?
Thank you for your question. And in regards to me being a libertarian, I do not see all the same things as some of these other parties. As well, if you cannot see, these Republicans and Democrats are at war. They're fighting with each other, and they're just going back and forth on who's right and who's wrong. So I believe, as being a third-party candidate and being a libertarian, I think that I could bring something different from the plate and to the table, and I feel that we can change America for the good. And I believe that with your vote, we can make this happen. Thank you.
This is for candidate Jay Weber. What is your opinion on abstinence-only sex education?
On abstinence-only sex education?
Only.
Okay. So, in regards to education, I believe that we should give kids the greatest opportunity, and to do that, I believe that we had to fill them with the most pertinent information. In regards to abstinence-only education, I believe in contraceptives, but I do not believe in emergency contraceptives. So, for example, I do believe in using a condom or having birth control pills, but I do not believe in abortions. I do not believe in that. I believe that we should all use preventative measures, but once the egg is fertilized, I believe that as the government, we have a duty to that fetus to protect their rights. Thank you for your question.
So my question is for Jay Weber. Just to inform everyone in the debate, Jay Weber voted against banning health insurance plans from discriminating based on gender identity. How are you fulfilling the role of providing for all our citizens when you're supporting discrimination in the healthcare system because of gender identification?
To answer your question, I do support the LGBTQ community, but I also do believe in the rights of a psychiatrist to say what they want to their patient. I believe that a psychiatrist is a licensed professional and that they do know more in regards to the topic of the LGBTQ community. But I'm also in support of the LGBT community because I do support their rights. For example, if a psychiatrist does, in fact, endorse a therapy such as electroshock therapy that is harmful to our youth, he will lose his license according to our law, and if I was a lawyer, I would charge him. I do protect the rights of the LGBT community, and I do support them. In regards to healthcare, I believe it is the health insurance companies' right to choose who they cover and who they don't. So in regards to capitalism, if one health insurance company rejects the LGBTQ community, I believe that this business will run to the ground because other health insurance companies will provide the need for the LGBTQ community. So I believe that through capitalism, this will be fixed, and that businesses that do not support the LGBTQ community will go to the ground, and that those who are more accepting will prosper. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Robert Crook, Mikey Sherrill, or Ryan Martinez?
My question is for Robert Crook. You mentioned that one of the greatest issues in our country is national debt. And also, New Jersey is notorious for its failing infrastructure. How do you plan on improving our infrastructure while moving to decrease our national debt?
So thank you for your question, by the way. So the way we want to try to tackle our national debt is by lowering the military spending. We spend more money than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Why are we spending this much money on something that is way blown out of proportion? So we want to take that money and redirect it into our infrastructure, bring it back to New Jersey. We're going to fight for you and bring back money and make it easier for you to get to work, go to school, improve our education. We want to make it easier for life in New Jersey and for the country. Thank you.
We'll take one more question from the audience.
This question is from Mikey Sherrill. You said you're a big supporter of Planned Parenthood and women's rights, but investigation has shown that they cover up sexual abuse and sex trafficking, and also a lot of women have been killed from their botched abortions, and their cancer and contraception services have declined, and their abortion services has actually increased. So how do you still support this if you're in support of women's rights?
Thank you. Contrary to what you may have heard in the media, I'm here in the flesh and blood. So let me tell you who I support, who I truly support. I support women everywhere. I support people of color. I support men, I support women, I support veterans, and that's who I am as a person. Now, in regards to all those investigations about sexual harassment, I was a former prosecutor. I've worked with men and women who needed help with the law for about 10 to 12 years of my life. So there was no way I would turn my back on the law and do anything of the sort. And that is simply propaganda trying to be out against me. But as the person who I am is someone who supports everyone and supports Americans. Thank you.